Hello, in this video I will show you how work these three primary demolition types. So here are a bunch of my boxes. So first one is pre-fragmented shatter with shatter modifier object. Its fraction set to object, which means it will be simulated as one object when simulation start. Actually, let me start simulation in loop mode. So here you can see how this object starts falling as one solid object, and only when it hit the ground it demolished to these elements which I set here. This is the simplest type of demolition. It allows you to pre-fragment your object as you want using shatter modifier or any other modifier which creates a bunch of elements by inside one object. So that's all basically with this object. Second object is also pre-fragmented with RayFire shatter. It also object fraction, but for this object I set here two clusters. Its primary demolition set to clusters, so when it hit the ground it also starts simulation as one object, but when it hit the ground you can see that it demolished to a bunch of clusters, and since here I set its debris to 20%, there are 20% separate elements simulated. Okay, so third and I guess the most interesting fragmentation, primary demolition type is two fragments, first one. And as you can see, it allows you to simulate one object. In this case, this is just one box. It was not pre-fragmented with shatter modifier. And when it hit the ground, it demolishes to these 10 Voronoi fragments. This is where you can define the amount of fragments you want to get. So you can change it, let's say to 30. You'll get more fragments. And this is the primary fragments demolition type. And this is one of the restrictions of two fragments demolition type. As you can see, this object was pre-fragmented with shatter modifier. It already has some elements. It starts as one object since its fraction is object. I can set it to elements, and in this case it will start as elements, and only this when demolition will start happening. So this is what I talked before, only separate elements can be demolished to fragments. If I set here clusters, as you can see, only elements which started separately because there's just 4 clusters and only 2 of them big enough. So only these elements demolishing to fragments. If I'll set to object, it will not be demolished at all, because to demolish it 2 fragments I need to demolish this object 2 elements first, and like this, and then I can use secondary to fragments to start demolishing these fragments further, like this one. But I will talk about this later. And the last one is also shows you how we can combine 2 fragments and 2 clusters. In this case, I also start with one simple box which is not pre-fragmented. It doesn't matter if its fraction is element or object, since it has only one element in any case. So when it hit the ground, it demolishes to this 100 fragments, as you can see here. But then it immediately clustering them into 34 clusters using these properties here. So I can set, let's say, 10 clusters and let's say 10% debris. And as you can see, it demolishes to less amount of clusters, but they are more complex. So this is another way to demolish your object in more realistic way, not just to fragments like this one. But in this case, you can get something more interesting. Okay, that's it with primary demolition types, and thank you for watching.